with his opening remarks. Mark Elvinger, please.
Thank you very much, Kazi, for giving me the floor. It's a pleasure to be here this morning from Luxembourg. So we were lucky we changed time zone this night. So it's not 7 o'clock in the morning in Luxembourg, but 8 o'clock, so not that early. For those who maybe don't know friendship that well, just some words which are relevant, I think, also to the subject of this session. Friendship has been working since now 20 years, focusing really on disaster-prone areas in Bangladesh. If you make a superposition of the working areas of Friendship, both in the north on Jamuna River and in the south on the coastal area, and what you would call the typical disaster map of Bangladesh, then you would find a very strong overlapping between those two maps. So long-standing experience, I think we can say in disaster management, but also a very holistic, integrated experience where disaster management preparedness is just one, though very important, element of the overall approach, with, apart from that, a very strong action and activity in health and in education, but also in income generation, access to rights and services, which we call inclusive citizenship, and also cultural preservation. But all the other sectors, so the other activities like health, education, income generation, and including inclusive citizenship, always need to be adapted also, and need to themselves adapt to the particular circumstances of disaster-prone areas. So it's not just for the communities to adapt, but it's also for the service providers to adapt. That's the reason why our health infrastructures are mobile and mostly floating, with the floating hospitals and the itinerating team. That's why friendship schools are dismantleable so that they can be moved from one place to another if islands break, and the same is true for our paralegals, parasolars, etc., etc. So actually, friendship is really embedded, I would say, in the idea that all the communities, but also the service providers, need to be extremely adapted to disaster management. Coming nearer to the subject of this morning, I think we were lucky that since a long time we have had partners who were ready to fund disaster preparedness programs, which is not always obvious because it's sometimes easier to access relief funding than disaster preparedness funding. But since, Kazi would say exactly the dates, but since more than 10 years, Friendship has been systematically pursuing disaster preparedness programs with the support, I think initially of a partner in Sweden, Erik Salpen, and then with the government of, with the support of the government of Luxembourg and of Friendship Luxembourg. There we were lucky that the government in Luxembourg was keen to follow the EU or the international recommendations that one should dedicate at least 15% of humanitarian funding to disaster preparedness funding. actually the government in this country did more than that, and was actually allowed Friendship to use whatever part of its humanitarian, what we call humanitarian envelope, so the annual funding which we receive here in Luxembourg, which we could dedicate whatever part we wished to disaster preparedness, or rather allocated to response or rehabilitation. But based on that, I think Friendship was able to develop over a long period already disaster preparedness programs, and thereby also to progressively adapt the approach. Even the name has changed over time. Initially, it was DDR, then it has become CIDRR, in order to take in account, in particular, the fact that while communities play a very important role in the process, they cannot, and they just cannot do everything. But they need also support, of course, from the local government, and that an NGO like Friendship also has its role to play. So that is why the programs are presently called these community initiated programs, and not community fully led programs, because the community is a central actor but cannot be the sole actor. Government has responsibilities, and an NGO can have coordination or incentive or a role to play. Now, of course, when you do this kind of activity over as long as we did, then from time to time, it's very important to sit back and to evaluate, and to make sure that you are not on the wrong track, or to find out where you can strengthen and what you can do better. And it's with that in mind that already in 2017 we did the first evaluation in cooperation with Dhaka University, and Dilara, who is here, and whom I think I have met some years ago at Dhaka University when the studies, the results of the first assessment were presented. So very happy to meet you again here. And so we did one study which was more project based, but then later in a second move, in cooperation this time with ICAT, we did this other analysis, which was more approach based, so not specifically project based, but more overall approach based, and of which we will be presented some of the results today by Mrs. Akhtar. So I'm very curious and keen to hear what she will say about that. And it's of course also a pleasure to have director of CPP program with us, because it's a very important partner in the whole process, because, as I said, implication of the government authorities is of course core to our subject, and the strong cooperation with the agencies in charge is central. Therefore, also, of course, happy to, maybe not yet, but maybe later, have the Assistant Secretary of the Ministry with us to share closing remarks. And I think that's all I should say. And I will be very happy to hear to what Mrs. Akhtar is going to tell us. So I'm saying Akhtar, but it's Mitri, but I have the two names, so I'm very sorry for that, Mahmouda. I'll just use the first name, so then I won't mix it up again. So I'm very curious to hear what you will say us. Thank you very much for having me with you, and I hope we will have a great session.
Thank you, Mark. Very nicely you set the tone for today's session. Yes, Mahmoud Akhtar is very known to us as a Miti, So she has training. Anyway, happy to have you all here again, and thank you, Mark. And you very clearly set the tone for today's session, and a bit a background for the audience who yet to know the detail about our previous evaluation and today's ambition. Now it's time for our Mahmouda Akhtar Miti. She was one of the key researchers who took all the trouble to conduct the research on our approach. And Mahmouda Akhtar.
Sorry, I'm not unable to share my screen. Can you please make me co-host? Maybe then
Yes, you can. You can. I think you can get access now. Okay.
Yeah. Now it's working. For ensuring better internet connection, I am like turning off my camera. I hope it's okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So to reduce the risk of disaster, let me make it full screen first. Oh, okay, great. So to reduce the risk of disaster, Friendship began the community initiated disaster risk reduction CIDRR project in the northern and southern part of Bangladesh, both areas being vulnerable to various natural disasters. The assessment study presents the efficiency and sustainability of the CIDRR approach that consists of three phases: preparedness, emergency responses, and resilience. So this is the framework of CIDRR work, where we can see Friendship CIDRR approach works for disaster preparedness, responses, and resilience in the climate vulnerable areas. They work with the local communities and local governments to mitigate the impacts of natural disaster through advanced preparation, relief, and rehabilitation, and transition to development. The objective of this study was to assess the sustainability of the CIDRR approach from a resilience perspective. We used a qualitative approach to assess the program. We conducted consultations with three groups: the community, including members from both beneficiary and non-beneficiary groups, and local CSOs and NGOs, and also local government representatives, including the Union Porishad chairman, UP members, agriculture officer, fisheries officers, and livestock officers. In addition to individual consultations, 4 focus group discussions were conducted in each target's community, with groups consisting of only male, female, and also with mixed group and youth. We visited selected sites in the northern and southern parts of Bangladesh to assess the program. We selected Gaibandha and Kurigram from the northern part, as they are highly vulnerable to flood and riverbank erosions. And in southern part, we selected Potuakhali and Satkhira to saline prone region. In some areas, project activities started in 2012, and in others, a few years later. And preparedness of communities depend on stage of the program in each area. Here we can see river erosion, flood, drought are the common hazards in Gaibandha and Kurigram. For Potuakhali, common hazards are cyclone, salinity institution, and heavy rain. And for Satkhira, river salinity institutions, cyclone hazards. So to reduce these vulnerabilities, Friendship provided training on disaster preparedness, first aid treatment, agricultural works, including homestead gardening. They also provided training on livelihood, livestock farming,
I think some maybe internet disruption. Let's wait few seconds. I believe she'll be able to fix it.
sorry, due to like internet
Yes,
that is,
yes, we can hear you. Mahmoda,
sorry, let me reshare my screen. Um, okay. So I hope you all heard me till the training part. So I'm going to talk about the monthly meetings. So Friendship also hold monthly meetings with the communities. These meetings help the community to gain knowledge on how to build house to protect from disaster. Besides the awareness raising activities in general had helped the communities to understand their rights, which engaged them to come forward to the local governments and convey their demand. From these meetings, the communities realized the importance of alternative livelihood. They also realized the importance of savings money for the disaster. Moreover, they learned making a stove called tola chula in Bengali to use during disaster. They Friendship developed community clinics, floating hospitals, and land hospitals to provide primary healthcare trainings to healthcare services, also trainings to communities, thus enhancing their ability to adapt their needs. In some areas, the shelter were far from the communities, and the poor road condition made it difficult for pregnant women, disabled, and elderly people to access the shelter. During the rainy season, the whole area became muddy and slippery. By the time the shelter was reached, these people discovered there was no space left for them. To avoid such situation, Friendship worked with the local government to build accessible shelter and usable roads. Actually, local government provided the land, but it was fully funded by Friendship. They also ensured a separate arrangement for cattle in the shelter. The shelters are also designed to be used as schools throughout the year. To improve livelihood opportunities, communities received training on agriculture and livestock farming, where they learned about planting seeds in beds and sacks, how to make organic fertilizer and pesticides, which crops to harvest, which repellent to use for insects and snakes, and so on. Besides, communities are also using flood resilient seeds in flood prone region and saline tolerant seeds in coastal belt region. This is an interesting initiative that I really like. An example of an emergency plan implementation is presented in these pictures, where local people's response to riverbank protection can be seen through mangrove plantation on government land. The benefits of mangrove plantation were shared with the local people during the training session. The forest arranged 20,000 to 30,000 trees, including Goran, Kolisha, Kaura, Vine, and Kakra. It can be future habitat for flora and fauna. The local people believe that these would give rise to new livelihood opportunities for them, similar in the Sundarban. The picture on the left was taken in December 2019, and the one on the right was taken last month. We can see how much the trees have grown in just 1.5 years. I saw a beehive begin to set on a tree here. So maybe in future, locals can collect honey from here. Also, it is restoring a buffer zone. After the disaster, there was a shortage of clean, fresh drinking water in these areas. To reduce this crisis, Friendship provided training in communities on how to build a tube well so that it will not be damaged during a disaster. In addition, training has been given on how to fix damaged tube wells, and in areas where tube well water cannot be used for excess salinity, their desalination plant have been set up to ensure fresh drinking water. The community members have also been trained in alternative livelihood opportunities that I mentioned earlier. So Friendship organized these training sessions according to the demand of community members. They also provide some sorts of supports, they also provide some cattle or some chickens or other sorts of things. In the picture, we can see that they are now doing multiple livelihood opportunities. They're raising cows and they're doing alternative livelihood opportunities from this. So they are also using smart technologies for livelihood practices like set gardening, tower gardening, hanging process, and so on. In this picture, we can see that they are now practicing multiple vegetable plantation as an option for loss reduction. So this initiative has helped those who did not own much land for cultivation purpose. According to our observations, community knows how to advocate for their needs and rights to local government, including development and maintenance of infrastructure. Now there has strong to moderate strong connection between local governments, community, and Friendship. However, some communities were not as confident of local government involvement after Friendship leaves. Actually, with time, working together leads to a strong relationship. For example, people in phase 3 have more connections with the local government compared to phase 1 and 2. So if we think about its sustainability, then we can see that locals are confident that they are equipped to handle disaster through their preparedness, response, and resilience training. According to one of the chairmen from Ashashulin Union, if Friendship lives in this area, everyone will be able to serve by doing something with the knowledge that they gain from Friendship training. So Friendship also assists local government for manpower, funds, training, and so on to handle disaster. Now, the question is, does CIDRR contribute to adaptation, adaptive capacity? So to get this answer, we followed the 5 key domains of building adaptive capacity based on a journal report written by CIDRR in 2018. According to this report, Adaptive capacity refers to the conditions that enable people to anticipate and respond to change, to minimize the consequence, to recover and take advantage of new opportunities. And the 5 domains that we used are assets, flexibility, organization, learning, and agency. So assets are financial resources, technical skills, and service that disaster victims can access in times of need. In the picture, we can see that the locals are growing vegetable using new technologies. So here the skills are their assets. Flexibility refers to the ability of communities to switch from one valuable adaptation option to another. So alternative livelihood practices are the flexibility of earning sources. Social organization is the social structure that enables cooperation, collective action, and knowledge sharing. Mainly, it refers the formal and informal relationship between individuals, communities, and organizations. Friendship creates formal gathering to share knowledge on the uses of shelter, movement of portable cooking stoves, communication mechanisms, and so on. So the local people have expressed that holding knowledge is more valuable than material supports. So learning is a process of people's capacity to generate and absorb new information about climate change and adaptation. Friendship focuses on sharing knowledge and lessons learned from community experiences. So local people hold knowledge on adaptation during the Earth's effect of disasters. They are now using saline and flood-tolerant seeds to adapt their agricultural practices of the effects of climate change. So this is how they're contributing to learning. Effective adaptation requires that people have the power and freedom to mobilize other components to adaptive capacity. Agency donates the ability of people individually or collectively to have free choice. Friendship helped communities to become aware of their rights and assets, them to developing a relationship with the local government in order to communicate their needs. Communities are now able to identify problems by their own and seek solutions by themselves. For example, in some areas, community members have collected money from local households to reduce the risk of riverbank erosion by fixing the embankment. So through CIDRR programs, the communications between local government, friendship, and community has improved a lot. Now community confident that they are capable to handling disaster. According to locals' opinion, if friendship lives, they can proactively reach out to more people in the surroundings area. Then they know that friendship will eventually live, and hence they have tried to become sufficiently equipped in order to sustain themselves. Yeah, this is all from my end. Thank you. Sorry, I took a lot of time.
Excellent, Mahmuda. For some good reason, we can take some time, no problem. And I hope we'll able to adjust timing, no problem. And now I would request turn for Dr. Dilara Jahid. She is Assistant Professor and Director, Institute of Disaster Management and Vulnerable Studies of Dhaka University. And I would repeat that Dr. Dilara Jahid took the lead, for our project survey and evaluation in 2017. 5 years gone already. Thank you, Dr. Dilara Jahid.
Thank you very much, Kazim. Am I audible to you? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And thank Ms. Mahmuda for your nice presentation. At the same time, thank you, Mark, for recalling me. So good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I'm very much happy to be here, or I'm very much happy that you have invited me to say something about friendship Bangladesh, because Friendship Bangladesh is a very good friend of us, and since long we have been working together. And all of us know that community-based disaster management is a very strong tool, or a very effective tool in disaster risk reduction issues. And in a country like Bangladesh, it is absolutely fit with our community. And the second thing is, we all know that Friendship Bangladesh has launched some innovative initiatives based on community-based disaster risk reduction, and they are world-renowned and appreciated all over the world. And if I want to say something, I can recall the triangle, what Mahmuda also mentioned. Actually, they work with the, as far as I know, they work with the DRR issues with three aspects: preparedness, then response, then resilience. And in case of preparedness, as I teach preparedness personally at my university, so I find all the components you have covered, which is related to preparedness. If I just mention, then your team make the people to prepare the risk assessment, the hazard assessment, then they are making action plans, they are monitoring those, they are creating volunteer groups. So all these things are about preparedness. And if I say about the response, as far as I know, they have a very good response team. There's a team called Friendship DMC, Friendship Disaster Management Team. They're working for the response, and very organized way they are doing these things during any disaster. Suppose they are the first thing what I can recall, they always try to cover the whole population of any disaster-prone area, so that the chaos can be reduced. And then they do the token system. Am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes,
okay,
loud and
okay.
clear.
Yes.
Okay. Then they're maintaining the token system, and